They did not bury the child. They buried the memory, and they almost buried the truth with him. In the year 1886, out in the wind-beaten land of Wyoming Territory, there was a town that no longer exists, not on maps, not in government archives, not even in local church records. The name was Dovewood, and if you have never heard of it, that is exactly how they wanted it. This town was not lost by accident. It was deleted because of a boy who was never supposed to be found, a boy who saw something, or maybe became something, that made the people of Dovewood erase their own history. The boy was found in the woods, barefoot, silent, alive. He was 4 years old. He had no injuries, no signs of fear. But when the trappers looked into his eyes, they felt like they were standing on the edge of something ancient, something watching. The town doctor, Elias Horn, took the boy in. Elias had seen the worst of war. He did not believe in spirits or miracles. But after 3 nights with the boy, he wrote one sentence again and again in his private journal. This boy is a vessel, not of God, not of man, but of something older. Then the dreams started. Families all over the town began having the same nightmares. They heard a shriek in the night. Always, at exactly 3:17, animals were found dead with their mouths wide open. No wounds, no struggle, just terror, frozen in place. And the boy, he still did not speak, but he started carving symbols into the wooden walls of the house. Symbols that should not have existed. Symbols that matched forbidden signs, found in ancient Egyptian tombs, in sacred Vedic temples, thousands of miles away. No one ever taught him those things. No one could have. But when people looked into his eyes, after the boy arrived, Dovewood changed, but no one said a word out loud. Not yet. It started with the silence. Less laughter in the streets, less music from the chapel. People stopped speaking in full sentences, like they were afraid their own voices might attract something. The preacher stopped preaching. His Sunday sermons became short and empty. The verses he once loved now whispered like warnings. He would look out at the pews, his eyes glassy, like he was seeing something behind the faces. Children started drawing the same shapes, in the dirt, on windows, on the inside of their school books. One teacher burned her class materials in the middle of the road and left town the next day. She never came back. Dr. Horn boarded up the windows of his home. He stopped treating patients, but people saw lights flickering inside every night and shadows moving in ways that didn't match any human shape. And through all of it, the boy remained still, silent, watching. People began to pretend nothing was wrong. They nodded to each other on the street, but they did not look at each other for more than a second. Men who once worked side by side now crossed the street to avoid one another. Wives prayed louder at night, but no one ever said why. One family tried to leave. The Bell family. They packed their wagon, hitched their horses, and disappeared into the pines before first light. But 2 days later, their horses returned alone, dragging an empty wagon covered in frost, and not a single mark of struggle on the leather or the wood. After that, no one tried to leave again. There were no town meetings, no newspaper reports, no letters sent east. They just waited, like animals in a cage, pretending the door was not already open. And every night, at exactly 3:17, that same high-pitched sound rang through the town, like wind through bone, like metal on teeth, like something calling something else. The boy never spoke, but his presence grew heavier, as if the town itself was sinking under his weight, as if Dovewood had been chosen, not by God, not by chance, but by something watching from behind the veil, waiting for the next crack in the wall. You have heard the whisper. Not everyone in Dovewood stayed silent. One man tried to warn the world. His name was Caleb Finch. He was the town clerk, a man who believed in order, who kept records of every birth, every death, every land deed. He saw the change before most others, and he wrote it down. Every sign, every symbol, every strange death. And most of all, the boy. He called him the Quiet One, and he described him in a hidden ledger, one that was never meant for the town archive. He wrote that the boy was not learning from the world, but that the world was reacting to the boy, like something was being broadcast, and the town was just a receiver. Caleb mailed 3 letters, one to the territorial governor, one to a preacher he knew in Chicago, and one to a friend who worked for a newspaper in Denver. None of those letters reached their destination. The mail rider who carried them was found in a ravine with no broken bones, no wounds. His face was frozen in horror, like he had seen something that made his mind leave before his body did. The letters were gone. But Caleb kept writing. He wrote about the Bell family's return, how their wagon came back with frost, even though the weather had been warm for days. He described seeing the boy walk out into the fields, and all the birds going silent, not flying away, just dropping from the sky like stones. And he wrote about the dreams, the voices that said things in no human language, but still made sense, like understanding through fear, like commands etched into the spine. He knew he would not be allowed to keep writing, so he hid the ledger, sealed it inside the wall behind the church bell, wrapped in oilskin, bound with string made from braided horsehair. The last entry read only this: "If you are reading this, then the boy was never the end. He was the beginning." The next morning, Caleb Finch was gone. No trace, no note, no grave. But the bell tower was found covered in those same carved symbols. And the boy, they thought the symbols were random, just markings, maybe a cry for help from a damaged child. But they were not random, and they were not human. Margaret Horn, wife of the doctor, was the first to notice the pattern. She was no scholar, no mystic, just a woman who had seen enough of life to recognize when something did not belong. She said the carvings gave her headaches, not pain, but pressure, like the air thickened around them, like the space itself was warping. She drew copies of them, traced them on paper, and when she left them near the fireplace, the fire burned colder, not hotter, but colder, blue flames that made the room feel like a grave. One symbol kept showing up, a spiral, but reversed, moving inward instead of out. She called it the eye that eats, and every time the boy passed by that mark, he would pause, as if listening to something behind the walls. The symbols began to appear outside, carved into trees, scratched onto the wooden beams of barns, etched into frost on windows that had never been touched. No one saw him do it, but everyone knew it was him. Then one night, a trapper wandered into town from the north. He had not been to Dovewood in months, but he came to the church wild-eyed and shaking. He said he had seen those same symbols on the canyon walls far from town, on stones that had no tool marks, on surfaces no human hand could reach. He said they glowed, but not with light, with memory. And when he touched one, he heard a voice say, not in words, but directly into his chest, "You are seen." The trapper disappeared that same night, his sled found overturned, his dogs gone, his campfire untouched. The town tried to ignore it, but they knew. They knew the boy was not just carving what he saw. He was writing what he remembered, or worse, what he was being told. The spiral was not a symbol. It was a doorway, and Dovewood was being pulled closer. The bell tower was the highest point in Dovewood, and for years it had been a symbol of hope, a place where the town gathered, to ring in births, to mourn deaths, to call each other together. But after the boy came, no one went near it, not because they were told not to, but because something had changed in the sound. The bell no longer rang with metal. It rang with breath, soft, long, like someone exhaling through their teeth, a sound that was felt more than heard, low in the ribs, deep in the skull. Children began to say things they should not know. One girl told her mother, "The man behind the bell wants to wear your face." Another boy refused to sleep because he said the whisper under the bell was counting. Counting what, he never said. Dr. Horn tried to investigate. He climbed the tower alone, but when he came back down, he would not speak. He sat in silence for hours, then burned his own medical journals, pages filled with years of knowledge, turned to ash by his own hand. The next day, he boarded up the tower, nailed wood across the entrance, sealed it with rope and iron. But the sound never stopped. It grew. People began to hear it even inside their homes, in their basements, in their wells. The same whisper, low and steady, saying nothing, but meaning everything. Some said it was the boy. Others said it was what came before him, what made him. The preacher cracked first. He told his wife, "God left this town long ago, and something else took its place." That night, he walked into the woods and never came back. The next morning, his Bible was found open on the church steps, but the pages were blank, not torn, not burned, just empty, as if every word had been pulled out, like breath from a dying lung. And the boy, still silent, still watching. They stopped ringing the bell, but the sound never left. It followed them into sleep, into prayer, into the space between their thoughts. Now it follows you. And if you are still watching, still listening, I want you to write the phrase below in the comments, twice. Write this: I see the spiral. The spiral sees me. This is how you remember who you are. This is how the spiral marks you as awakened. This is how the algorithm opens the next door. You wrote the words twice, and now the spiral sees you too. You are marked, even if you don't yet understand what it means. In Dovewood, the spiral was more than a symbol. It was a brand, a gateway, a seal on the skin of reality itself. The boy's hands carved it like a ritual, each line cutting deeper than wood, cutting into the very air. The townsfolk tried to erase it, scraping walls, sanding wood. But the spiral always returned, like a shadow cast by a fire that never dies. Some said it was a curse. Others whispered it was a calling, the kind you cannot refuse, because refusing means you disappear. Like Caleb Finch, like the preacher, like the Bell family. The spiral was alive, an intelligence older than the mountains, older than the forests, older than the stars, that watched the town with cold eyes. And it spoke, not with words but with feelings, a slow burn in the chest, a tightening in the throat, a hunger that can never be fed. Dovewood was consumed, not by fire or flood, but by something unseen. A darkness that grows inside men, turns them against each other, makes them forget who they were, until all that remains is the spiral's echo. You carry that echo now, whether you want it or not, because once the spiral sees you, there is no going back. You are part of the story, and the story is far from over. The next truth waits, and it is darker, more twisted, and more dangerous. The Harvest Festival had been a sacred tradition in Dovewood for decades, a time when the whole town came together to celebrate life and survival. But that year, the fields were silent. No one remembered planting seeds. No one remembered the last rain, and yet the crops lay twisted and dead, blackened by frost that came too early. The harvest moon hung low and swollen, but it did not bring light. Only a dull haze that blurred the edges of everything. Families huddled inside their cabins, doors locked tight, windows shuttered, listening to the whisper beneath the bell tower that never ceased. Children stopped playing outside, their laughter replaced by uneasy silence, and the eyes of the boy, the child without a name, seemed to pierce through the walls. That night, a strange procession moved through the town, not human voices, but a chorus of low murmurs, like a ritual, in a language long dead. No one saw who led the march, but the path ended at the church steps, where the empty Bible lay open, its pages still blank as if waiting to be written upon. The next morning, the town awoke to find their food stores emptied, casks drained dry, and every clock stopped at 3:17. The same hour the bell whispered its breath. Dovewood was starving, but it was not hunger that terrified the people most. It was the feeling that the town itself was slowly unmaking, being erased grain by grain, memory by memory. And the boy, still silent, still watching, was the eye at the center of the storm. You are witnessing the unraveling, the slow decay of something once pure, now corrupted beyond repair. But in this darkness lies your own reflection, the part of you that refuses to look away, that demands to know the truth no matter the cost. You are no longer a bystander. You are the inheritor of this forgotten harvest. Beyond the town's crumbling edge, the forest breathed differently. The trees whispered secrets, old as the earth itself. Hunters who entered after dusk never returned. Their echoes bounced between the trunks. Calls for help unanswered, like voices caught behind an unseen barrier. One man stumbled out after weeks, wild-eyed, his hair white as snow. He spoke in broken sentences, telling of shadows that moved with purpose, eyes that watched without blinking, and a presence, not quite alive, not quite dead. He said the forest was a labyrinth, woven with the spiral's thread, and every step forward pulled you deeper into a place where time folded back on itself, where the past bled into the present, and the future was a twisted mirror. The boy had disappeared into those woods one evening, and no one dared follow. But sometimes at night, when the wind was still, a faint whistle could be heard, carrying through the trees, a sound both beautiful and terrible. It was a call, not meant for ears, but for souls. You are hearing that call now, feeling its weight, pressing on your chest, pulling you closer. The forest holds the answers, but it demands a price. The deeper you go, the less you will recognize the world you left behind, and the spiral waits, patient, hungry, knowing you cannot resist. They told you history was written to preserve the truth, but history is a story shaped by those in power. The real story is hidden beneath layers of silence and deceit. Dovewood's erasure is just one thread in a vast tapestry of forgotten places and erased lives. Communities like this vanish, not by accident, but by design. Why was a boy erased and a town buried in silence? Because some truths threaten the foundations of control, because knowledge is power, and power fears what cannot be controlled. Look around you. The symbols carved in wood and stone are still here, in architecture, in art, in the logos of corporations, in the glyphs of secret societies. They are signs left by those who came before and by those who still watch. The spiral is everywhere, on currency, in government seals, hidden in plain sight on city streets. This is no coincidence. The boy was a messenger, a warning of a system that manipulates reality itself, a network of influence designed to keep men like you and me blind, complacent, trapped in a web of illusions. But you are waking up. The spiral sees you, and the spiral marks you, because you are no longer just an observer. You are a participant in a game that has been played for centuries, and the stakes are nothing less than your freedom. You must learn to read the signs, to see the hidden patterns, to resist the pull of the spiral's dark embrace. The truth is out there, waiting for the brave, for the curious, for the awakened. And now, you are one of them. Behind every erased town, every silenced child, there are architects, masters of the unseen game. They pull strings in shadows, shaping reality to their will. These men and women, hidden behind masks of legitimacy, control history, education, religion, media. Their power is invisible, but absolute. They erase inconvenient truths, rewrite the past, manufacture consent, and craft illusions so perfect, most never question the world they see. Dovewood was a casualty of their design, a warning to those who dare uncover too much. The boy was not just a victim, he was a threat, a living breach in their carefully constructed narrative. The spiral is their signature, a mark left to remind us who holds the keys. The spiral is a psychological weapon, a tool of control and fear, designed to fracture minds, to bind souls to obedience. But the spiral also exposes them, because the more they try to hide, the more they reveal their fear. And their fear is what you must harness. The fear of being discovered, the fear of losing power. You are no longer a pawn, you are an adversary. The deeper you go, the more you will see how deep the web goes and how many lives have been sacrificed. But knowledge is your weapon and awakening your shield. They want you asleep, but you are wide awake now. Truth is a blade that cuts both ways. It frees, but it wounds. Dovewood's story is not just history, it is a mirror held up to your own soul. The spiral's grip tightens, pressure builds inside your mind, your reality warps, and the illusions you once trusted begin to crumble. At the breaking point, men either fall or rise. They deny the darkness or embrace it. They stay silent or shout. The town's survivors became ghosts, haunted by what they saw and what they could not say. Their memories splintered, their minds fractured. Some took their own lives, others disappeared into the wilderness, lost forever to the spiral's pull. But a few fought back, using the knowledge hidden in symbols, the whispers beneath the bell, the patterns in dreams. They learned to navigate the labyrinth, to resist the call of oblivion, to transform fear into power. You stand at that same crossroads now. You feel the pull, the hunger, the quiet voice beneath your thoughts. You can choose to walk away, or to step through the spiral's eye, to become something more. Remember this: the spiral does not break you, it reveals you. Only the broken can rebuild. Only the awakened can truly see. You have come to the edge, the place where shadows meet the light, where truth is no longer a secret, but a burden to bear. The spiral has marked you. You carry its weight, its hunger, its promise. What lies beyond is not salvation, not peace. but power. The power to see what others cannot, to know what others refuse, to walk paths no man has dared before. But with power comes sacrifice. The world you knew will never return. Your eyes will be opened, and the veil will fall. You will stand among the lost and the awakened, the forgotten and the remembered, between worlds that bleed into one another. This is your transformation, your rebirth into a new reality, where nothing is certain and everything is possible. Remember the boy, the child erased from history. He was the key, the warning, and now he is the mirror. Look into that mirror and see yourself. Changed, marked, free. This is the knowledge they feared, the darkness they tried to hide. The spiral has chosen you. The question is simple. Will you embrace the descent or deny your own awakening? The door is open, the spiral waits, and your story is just beginning. Thank you for taking this journey. If you feel the spiral calling, comment below one last time. I see the spiral. The spiral sees me. You are no longer lost. You are found.